Emily texted me, "Oh, I completely forgot about dinner tonight. I'm at the office party. Can we push this to tomorrow instead?" At that moment, I was sitting alone in a restaurant waiting for over 2 hours. Tonight was supposed to be special. It was the night I planned to celebrate the biggest promotion of my career. I had been looking forward to sharing that joy with the person I loved most. Instead, I was staring at my phone, realizing just how misplaced my priorities had been. I replied calmly, "Don't worry about it." The truth is that one message changed everything. Within a week, I quietly moved out of our shared apartment. I stopped covering the 70% of rent and expenses I had shouldered for 2 years. And just like that, Emily found herself scrambling, calling friends, reaching out to people we knew, and eventually moving back in with her sister. My name is Daniel Hayes. I'm 31, and for the longest time I believed love meant sacrifice. I believed being patient, forgiving, and endlessly understanding was proof of loyalty. For 2 years I molded myself into the kind of partner who always planned, always remembered, and always made things easier for Emily. She was magnetic, charming, full of energy, the kind of person who lit up every room she walked into. I wanted so badly to believe that made her worth every compromise. But over time I realized I wasn't her partner. I was her safety net. I was the one who absorbed the consequences of her choices, the one who rescheduled, reorganized, and restructured everything around her impulsive lifestyle. And the night she forgot my promotion dinner was the night I finally stopped waiting for her to change. When I look back now, it's clear the pattern with Emily didn't just appear overnight. It formed slowly, piece by piece, in ways so subtle that I almost convinced myself they weren't problems at all. I've always been structured by nature. My job as a systems engineer taught me to anticipate issues, plan carefully, and create order out of complexity. Emily, on the other hand, thrived in spontaneity. She worked in marketing for a boutique agency and had the kind of magnetic personality that made people gravitate toward her. If I was the planner, she was the free spirit. At first, I thought those differences were what made us balance each other. When we moved in together just 8 months after dating, I handled everything. I found the apartment, coordinated movers, set up the utilities, and made sure the transition was smooth. When Emily suggested I cover 70% of the rent since my income was higher, I agreed without thinking twice. It seemed practical, but I didn't realize at the time how this set a precedent. Emily often forgot things. Dinner reservations, anniversaries, plans with friends. I told myself her forgetfulness was part of her charm. When she skipped out on helping with chores, because she got caught up in weekend shopping trips with her sister, I rationalized that I was just supporting her social needs. I thought patience was love, but in truth, I was training myself to accept less than I deserved. The first real crack appeared about 6 months before that promotion dinner. We had spent weeks researching cars, negotiating with dealerships, and arranging financing. The day came to sign the paperwork, and Emily had promised to meet me at the dealership. I waited for over an hour while the sales manager offered coffee and reassurances. Finally, I got a text. "Daniel, OMG, I lost track of time at this rooftop pool party with clients. It's amazing networking. Can you just handle the signing? You're way better at that paperwork anyway." So I signed alone. I drove the new car home alone. That evening, when I told Emily how disappointed I was, she hugged me, bought me coffee the next morning, and swore it wouldn't happen again. I wanted so badly to believe her, but it did happen again. On my birthday, she canceled dinner last minute because she double-booked herself with a friend in crisis. My birthday became a rushed lunch the following day, squeezed in between her errands. The family barbecue where I wanted her to finally meet my parents. She skipped it because she had promised to help her sister move. Each time she apologized, offered small gifts, and promised to do better. And each time I convinced myself that patience meant strength. The most painful incident came 3 months before my promotion. My grandmother had been hospitalized, and I arranged a family meeting to discuss her care. I wanted Emily by my side to show her this part of my life mattered deeply. She promised to be there. She even texted that morning, "Can't wait to see everyone, I'll be there at 2. By 2:00, no Emily. By 3:00, still nothing. By 4:00, as my family asked where she was, my stomach dropped. Finally, at 5, I got her text. "Babe, you know how Saturdays are. Last-minute spa day with the girls from work, team bonding. Tell your family I said hi." I sat there alone, having to explain her absence, feeling isolated during one of the most important conversations of my life. That night, when Emily came home glowing from massages and treatments, I tried to explain how hurt I felt. She barely looked up from scrolling through her photos. Finally, she said, "You're being dramatic. It's not like your grandmother died. You handled it fine, like you always do. That's what I love about you. You're so independent." Independent, that word. It was the way she justified leaving me to shoulder responsibilities she didn't want to deal with. The truth was, I wasn't independent by choice. I was forced into independence because depending on her wasn't possible. Still, I stayed. I stayed because I loved her laugh. I stayed because I believed that eventually she would realize how much I gave and start giving back. I stayed because I thought love meant waiting. So when I got the biggest promotion of my career, senior systems architect, a role I'd worked years for, I wanted to share it with her. I booked a reservation at Meridian, the same upscale restaurant where we'd celebrated our first anniversary. I asked Emily to keep the night free. I told her how important it was to me. I even ordered a cake from their pastry chef. She looked me in the eye when I told her and said, "Daniel, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. Of course, I'll be there. I wouldn't miss it for anything." For once, I allowed myself to believe her. The night came. I arrived early, excited and nervous, like I was preparing for something meaningful. The table was set, champagne chilling. Other couples filled the room with laughter. I checked my phone every few minutes, but I wasn't worried at first. Emily was always a little late. By 7, my chest tightened. The server approached gently, asking if I'd like to order appetizers, and I told her I was waiting. By 7:30, my calls went straight to voicemail. Finally, I texted Emily's sister, Madison. "Hey, have you heard from Emily tonight?" We had plans and I can't reach her. Madison replied quickly. "She's at the office party downtown. Looks like she's having fun. Check her Instagram." I did. And there it was. Videos of Emily laughing with co-workers, clinking glasses, dancing under neon lights. She looked radiant, utterly carefree. Then my phone buzzed with her message. "Oh, I forgot about dinner. At the office party. Can we reschedule tomorrow? Networking is huge for me." That was it. That was the moment everything clicked. I stared at the untouched cake, the empty chair across from me, and realized Emily hadn't forgotten. She had chosen. I told the server, "I'll be dining alone. Please bring the cake. I'd like to celebrate my promotion anyway." Each bite of that cake was bitter and sweet, a mixture of disappointment and clarity. For 2 years, I had told myself Emily's behavior was just her personality, that her thoughtlessness was spontaneity, that her neglect was freedom. But in truth, it was selfishness. It was her telling me again and again that I would never be her priority. She came home that night tipsy and apologetic, promising to make it up tomorrow. I simply said, "It's fine. I understand completely." She thought my calmness meant forgiveness. What she didn't realize was that I was already gone in my mind. The next week, I moved out quietly. I didn't want a dramatic fight or tearful confrontation. I just wanted out. I found a smaller apartment across town, moved my belongings while Emily was at work, and left a note on the counter with my keys. "Emily, I've moved out. I've also taken my name off our accounts and utilities. I used to think love meant waiting endlessly for someone to choose you. I've learned that real love requires respect and priority. I hope you find someone whose company matters more than a party. I won't be waiting." For the first time in 2 years, I felt free. Of course, Emily didn't see it that way. The messages started pouring in. At first, angry. "Daniel, what the hell? You can't just disappear like this." Then pleading, "Please call me. We need to fix this. I'll change." And finally, desperate apologies. "I know I messed up, but this is insane. Please just talk to me." I never responded. I had spent too long responding, explaining, forgiving. This time my silence was the answer. Within a month, Emily couldn't afford the apartment on her own. She moved back in with her sister. Mutual friends told me how she was struggling, taking freelance gigs, cutting back on shopping, complaining about how hard things had become. For the first time, she had to face the consequences of her choices without me as her safety net. Meanwhile, my life started to grow. I joined a hiking group. I enrolled in a photography class. I started seeing friends I hadn't made time for in years. Slowly, I began to rediscover myself. Not the version of me that bent over backwards for someone else, but the Daniel Hayes I had almost forgotten existed. Months later, I met someone new. Sarah, a fellow engineer. On our first date, she showed up exactly on time. When she had to leave for a prior commitment, she kept it and later texted to set up another date. It was simple, but it was everything. With Sarah, reliability wasn't boring, it was respect. And it hit me then, the thing Emily had dismissed as independence was never what I wanted. What I wanted was partnership. And for the first time in years, I felt like I had found it. When Emily finally showed up at my door 6 months later, her eyes carried a sadness I hadn't seen before. She spoke about therapy, about working on herself, about realizing too late how much I had carried in our relationship. She cried. She begged for another chance. And yet, as I stood there listening, I felt nothing, not anger, not satisfaction, not the pull of old emotions, just calm. I realized the chapter with Emily was fully closed. What she was asking for was not love, but another chance to lean on me as her safety net. And I had already learned the most important lesson. Love without respect, without consistency is not love at all. That's why I want to leave you with this. If you're watching this and you've ever felt like you're waiting for someone to call, for someone to show up, for someone to finally treat you the way you deserve, understand this. You are not asking for too much. You are asking the wrong person. Love is not about endless patience while someone repeatedly forgets your worth. Love is not about lowering your standards until neglect feels normal. Real love is mutual. Real love shows up on time. Real love remembers what matters to you and doesn't dismiss your feelings as dramatic. And here's the truth, most of us don't want to admit: the longer you wait for someone who won't choose you, the further you drift from the life you could be living if you chose yourself. The day I stopped waiting for Emily was the day I started living according to my real value. That choice opened the door to better friendships, new passions, and eventually a relationship built on consistency and respect. It wasn't easy, but it was worth everything. So ask yourself right now, are you waiting on someone who has already shown you, through their actions, that you're not a priority? If so, stop waiting. Choose yourself. Build the life you deserve. Because the right person won't need reminders, second chances, or endless explanations to value you. They'll show you through their actions, every single day. Stop waiting, start living. After the divorce was finalized, he called me. "Meet me at the old house," he said. I drove there, nervous. When I arrived, he was sitting on the porch. We didn't talk about Emily or the case. We talked about Dad's awful fishing trips, Mom's apple pie, our childhood. After a long silence, Marcus looked at me. "I was wrong, Danny. I forgot what this place meant. It's not an asset. It's home." I nodded. I was wrong too. I was stuck in the past, not willing to move forward. We decided not to sell the house. Instead, we fixed it up together. Side by side, we painted, repaired, rebuilt. It wasn't a relic anymore. It became a project for our future. Emily thought she was isolating me. Instead, she gave me back my brother. She thought she was taking everything. But in the end, I realized I hadn't lost anything that truly mattered. I had gained it all back. Emily's final words to me, before walking out that night, were meant to crush me. "You can't afford a lawyer to fight me." She thought those words would be the end of me. Instead, they became the spark that reignited something far stronger than her: arrogance in my bond with Marcus. What Emily never understood is that life doesn't always play out the way you calculate on paper. You can prepare your demands, polish your speeches, and stack the odds in your favor. But if you misjudge the human heart, if you misjudge family, you lose everything. She wanted to dismantle my life piece by piece. But what she really did was bring my brother back into it. She underestimated the quiet resilience of someone she thought was too weak to fight. She underestimated what happens when pride is put aside for something greater. In the end, Emily walked away with nothing, not just financially, but emotionally, socially, and spiritually. She lost the house, the money, her lover, her friends, and her reputation. What she tried to weaponize against me only exposed her own betrayal. But I didn't walk away empty-handed. I walked away with my home intact, my dignity restored, and my brother, my fiercest ally, standing at my side again. If you take anything from my story, let it be this: sometimes the people who try to break you are the very reason you discover your true strength. Sometimes being underestimated is the greatest weapon you can carry. So if you're watching this and you've ever felt cornered, betrayed, or written off as weak, remember my story. You are not defined by the plans others make for you. You are defined by what you do when everything seems lost. Don't surrender your worth just because someone believes you can't fight back. You never know what strength, what allies, or what hidden reserves are waiting for you to make that one bold decision to stand up.